The early 80s saw the rise of Iron Maiden, one of the most successful groups to emerge from the new wave of heavy metal that exploded in Great Britain. By the beginning of 1983, Maiden had already released 3 classic albums: Iron Maiden, Killers, and Number of the Beast. The band underwent a number of lineup changes in their early years, including the replacement of vocalist Paul Di'Anno with Bruce Dickinson and drummer Clive Burr with Nico McBrain in 1982. By the time Iron Maiden entered the recording studio to record their 4th album, Peace of Mind, the band had solidified its roster, which would last throughout the rest of the decade. Not long into the sessions, Maiden would record one of their most beloved songs, The Trooper. Hello there, it's Warren Hewitt here. I hope you're doing marvellously well. Welcome back to another episode of the series. If you haven't already, and of course if you enjoy this video, please subscribe. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when we have a new video. If you're into recording production, you can go to Produce Like a Pro and sign up for the email list and get a whole bunch of free goodies. Iron Maiden were formed in 1975 by bassist and primary songwriter Steve Harris. Harris left his previous band, Smiler, in order to form a group that could perform his hard rock songs. The name Iron Maiden, which supposedly references the medieval torture device, was inspired by the classic novel, The Man in the Iron Mask, by Alexandre Dumas. The band's early years were marked by their frequently changing lineup, though Harris soon teamed up with the band's longtime guitarist, Dave Murray. By the end of 1979, Iron Maiden had recruited vocalist Paul Di'Anno and secured a record deal with EMI. In 1980, they recorded and released their self-titled debut record. The album cover, adorned by Derek Rigg, illustrates a zombie-like figure sporting a punk rock haircut, Eddie. Eddie quickly became Iron Maiden's mascot and one of the most recognisable icons in heavy metal. Featured on every Iron Maiden cover, he has become a fixture of the band and their theatrical live shows. The debut album established the group as one of the premier bands in this swelling tide of hard rock. The new wave of British heavy metal referred to the slew of underground metal bands that formed in the UK during the late 70s, after the initial explosion of punk rock began to lose some of its momentum. Along with Iron Maiden, the new wave of British heavy metal included iconic acts like Motorhead, Def Leppard and Saxon. In 1982, Paul Di'Anno had left the band and was replaced by former Samson vocalist Bruce Dickinson. He brought his high tenor range and operatic vibrato to Iron Maiden's 3rd album, The Number of the Beast, which launched the band to new levels of international stardom. At the beginning of 1983, Iron Maiden began work on their follow-up to The Number of the Beast, entitled Peace of Mind. The album's 2nd single was The Trooper. This longtime fan favourite took inspiration from events in the Crimean War, the 1854 conflict between the UK and Russia. More specifically, it was inspired by Lord Tennyson's poem The Charge of the Light Brigade, named after the failed British military operation that occurred during the Battle of Balaclava. The song is often heard as a critique of the futility of war. In the words of songwriter and bassist Steve Harris, it's the idea of someone being ordered to go and fight. In those days, you didn't question it. They weren't allowed to question it. You got on the horse and went straight into battle, no matter how ridiculous it was. Charging cannons firing at you. There have been a lot of crazy things people have been ordered to do in wars, and quite a few of our songs are about that. The band's signature galloping rhythms, which honestly come from the bass and the guitars doubling that, evoke the sounds of horses charging into battle. The song features a call back to metal's origins in the blues, with the stop rhythm that the band does in the verses before Dickinson sings lines like, "You take my life, but I'll take yours too." It's done in a heavy metal idiom, but it's not that far from something like I'm a Man by Muddy Waters. This also makes the song a real showpiece for Dickinson's powerful, wide-ranging voice. The song also features back-to-back guitar solos by Dave Murray and Adrian Smith that exemplify the fast-paced, virtuosic style of heavy metal lead guitar. So if we're going to start anywhere on an Iron Maiden song, and this is for all Iron Maiden fans, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to place Steve Harris's bass line. I love hearing all of those guitars bleeding into his mic on his bass amp. You know they were in a room playing this together. I've got to stop here for a second and say something. So I worked on the phrase Abbey Road, live at Abbey Road sessions. And do you remember those series of videos they did? They were fantastic. They recorded it and they used a U-48 and there was tons of bleed. There was a couple of months I had to fly in album vocals. Why am I mentioning this? Well, I got kind of embarrassed because this was live at Abbey Road and I fixed like 2 or 3 lines here and there. So I spoke to the guys at Abbey Road, this is years ago, and said, I'm really sorry, I fixed some stuff when I mixed it. And they're like, what are you worried about? Like, everybody's done that. And there's some huge bands that have done that. They've gone in there, they do the live at Abbey Road, and then they would take the hard drives away and replay whole sections. And then mix it. And they said, with the exception of one band. And I was like, who's that? They said, the only band that ever came into Abbey Road and played down live for the live at Abbey Road and then left, not taking the hard drive, and just left it with Abbey Road and said, you mix it, was, yes, you guessed it, Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden are the band that does it live. You know, maybe to the detriment of modern recording where everything is so fixed, but that's not what they're about. So I believe this. When I listen to this bass, I can hear the guitar amps bleeding into it because you know they're in a room playing. There's a drummer here. There's Nico McBrain here, there's probably Steve Harris over there, and then surrounded by a pair of guitars, and everything's bleeding into each other, and then they just fix it, like replay, punch in. So anyway, back to the point. Here's Steve Harris. There's the gallop. Now, for the longest time, I thought that was 3 fingers, that diddle-ump, 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 and I've been corrected many, many times. I know when Billy Sheehan was here, he was actually practicing using 3 fingers to try and get it as good as Steve Harris plays. I think the point is that Steve Harris has such incredible right-hand technique. He has such incredible right-hand technique that he could give the illusion that you're using 3 fingers because his technique is absolutely superb. So, wonderful. Now let's go and listen to Nico's drumming. Guitar's bleeding in again. I'll throw the bass in, haven't I? And now, let's put Dave and Adrian in. Harmonies, everything, glorious. So this is kind of the blues call and response between the band and the vocals. So you got Bruce here.
You'll take my life, but I'll take yours too. You fire musket, but I'll run you through. So when you're waiting for the next attack, you better stand, there's no turning back.
I'm sorry, all my hairs stand on end. I remember being a kid and the first Iron Maiden record coming out and going around to a friend's house and just being like, it's jaw-dropping. That dun-dun-dun-dun, galloping groove. I remember learning Phantom of the Opera badly when I was like 15. It was one of the first things I ever learned to play on guitar. Really badly, I might add. But I still absolutely love that dun-dun-dun-dun groove. Superb. But Bruce's vocals, unbelievable.
You'll take my life, but I'll take yours too. You fire musket, but I'll run you through. So when you're waiting for the next attack, you better stand, there's no turning back. The bugle sounds, the charge begins. But on this battlefield, no one wins.
So he's got it all. He's got the grit, and then he can get that falsetto as well. So he's kind of got the Ian Gillan falsetto, classic, Deep Purple style metal vocal, but he's got the grit and more of a blues influenced singer, which is why I think he has to be considered one of the greatest rock singers of all time. And what's interesting, when I see the top 10 great rock singers, he doesn't always make it in there, which really confuses me because he has it all. Absolutely perfect pitch, incredible tone, but so much range, falsetto, like ripping kind of vocals, and he's got a pretty good low end when he wants it as well. I think he's one of rock's greatest singers. All right, let's go to the solos. back to those amazing harmonies. What I love of that whole time is it's all being doubled by Steve Harris. So good, so good. Everything that I love about rock. Those solos by both Dave and Adrian, what I love about them is they've got a little bit of the note tapping going on. They've got some blues in there. They've got a bit of whammy bar bends. They've kind of got a bit of everything. So it's still like a nod to the past of blues rock where it needs to be. It's got a little bit of note tapping, so it's a little bit Eddie Van Halen. But it's also got danger in it as well, which is just absolutely superb, which makes it really super current for me. I love blues rock guitar playing like many of you. I also love some of the modern guitar playing which has zero vibrato or note bends or anything. A lot of the young guys don't do any of that, as I'm sure you're very aware. And talk about joining everybody together. There you've got, Dave and Adrian doing all of it. Bits and pieces of all it. Absolutely superb stuff. I want to have 10 more seconds of their solos. Harmony there. Absolutely superb. And this little kid, when I heard that for the first time, was just like, I'm not worthy.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
It really was a coming of age for me. Absolutely superb musicianship that kept it really, really, really exciting. After writing and arranging Peace of Mind at a retreat in New Jersey, Iron Maiden ventured to the Bahamas to begin recording the album at Compass Point Studios in Nassau. These recordings were later finished at Electric Lady Studios in New York. These recording sessions were the first to feature Iron Maiden's longtime drummer, Mr. Nico McBrain. This album was the band's third collaboration with the legendary British rock producer Martin Birch, who had also worked with such hard rock luminaries as Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. Birch first worked with Iron Maiden on their sophomore record, Killers. He would go on to collaborate with the band on all future releases, up to and including 1992's Fear of the Dark. The Peace of Mind album spent 18 weeks on the UK charts, where it peaked at number 3. The Trooper was released as a single on June the 20th, 1983, and peaked at number 12 on the UK charts. It also hit number 28 on the Billboard Rock chart, even though the band got little radio airplay in the United States. A music video was filmed for the song, featuring footage from the classic 1936 Errol Flynn film, The Charge of the Light Brigade. The video garnered some controversy, and the BBC refused to play it unedited because of the violent war scenes. The Trooper has gone on to be a staple of Iron Maiden's elaborate live shows. During live performances, Bruce Dickinson waves a large Union Jack flag. In recent years, he has also worn an authentic red coat military uniform of the type that would have been worn by British soldiers in the Crimean War. The song has been firmly solidified as one of Iron Maiden's most popular tracks and has been covered by numerous bands, in particular Sentence and Rage. In 2013, the band even collaborated on a beer called Trooper, named after the song and based on a recipe created by Bruce Dickinson. I don't know what else to say. I've got excited all the way through this. Totally went off script. Iron Maiden, to me, are one of the most important rock bands of all time. They sort of connect everything together. You know, we talked about the solo playing, how there's some note tapping on it, how there's some blues stuff, how there's some trems, sort of dive bombing stuff, and there's a bit of everything. The gallop and the groove and the super fast, incredible drumming by Nico McBrain are really way ahead of themselves. And I'm not going to say that they were the birth of thrash or anything like that, but I'm telling you, all the thrash bands that I know talked about Iron Maiden. I think they are the gateway drug for people that were going into modern metal, because they do have that 70s blues rock element to a tiny degree, with a singer as great as Bruce Dickinson, who can blues it up and also scream like Ian Gillan. It's not surprising. But really, when it comes down to it, this is one of the most, musical, most prolific bands, hard-working. They've got it all together like any modern band. They've got the image. I mean, Eddie, all of the imagery when you go to the shows is incredible. The imagery of the albums, they have got it together. Not to mention the fact that Bruce Dickinson is a pilot, and they have, is it a jumbo jet? Anyway, they have a freaking huge plane, and they fly around the world in touring in, and he is the pilot. This is a bunch of badasses, if ever there was one. Incredible musicians, amazing songwriters. They pretty much invented and started a genre on their own, and within reason, every modern heavy metal band I know name checks them. They are one of the most influential bands of all time, and this song, Trooper, is one of the greatest songs, of which they have many, by the way. It's not their only one. They have so many. I remember Run to the Hills when I first heard it. Phantom of the Opera. I mean, the list is as long as your arm. This band has it all. So if you don't know Iron Maiden, go and check them out. If you're a modern metal guy or girl, you're going to love it. Even if you're a screamer. I don't know if you're a screamer, do you like it? What do you think, Lily?
I like it.
Lily's a screamo fan. She likes it. And if you're into classic blues rock, you're still going to like it. This is a gateway band. They're the gateway drug to either side, whichever direction you're coming from. They really help make it all make sense. And to this day, I hear they still record live in a room, playing together, and they pride themselves on being incredible musicians. So what's not to love? Thank you ever so much for watching. If you have any other ideas for songs, please write them down below, or bands, or albums, or EPs, or whatever it is. Thanks, everyone. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, tot ziens, ciao, tschüss, goodbye.